Okay, we are live. I'm attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my two co-hosts this Saturday morning, Miss Georgette Truen. Miss Truen, how are you doing this morning?
Doing good, thank you.
And my other co-host, Mr. Darren Guy. Mr. Darren, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Mr. Davis. Thank you for asking.
Good, good. And I see we have a returning special guest, Miss Ellen. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, where were you from? Iowa?
Iowa.
Okay. So what's going on today? I know we got it. We're about to get into another topic, and we brought you back. What's going on?
I had a couple questions left over from the last video. So the difference between a trial and a permanency order, what's the difference? Because a trial seems like a really bad term for termination of parental rights. Is that correct?
Well, the three terms you just mentioned are all different terms, at least in California. A trial is a hearing where witnesses and documents are presented and they're examined and cross-examined. Now, the result of the trial could be different things. You know, you in California's matrix, you use trials at different stages, but they can all result in different things depending on the stage, the stage of the case. Now, you mentioned termination of parental rights. There's also a termination of family reunification services. Those are different things, and they happen at different periods in the matrix. But a termination of parental rights, you can have a trial to try to prove to the judge that your rights should not be terminated.
Okay.
One thing people don't understand is the focus of a termination case in California, and I would guess, not sure, the same would be in trial. At the termination stage, they don't focus on your rights. They don't focus on you. They focus on the child. And the test is whether it would be beneficial for the child to remain, not have its parental rights terminated. Okay? It's not focused on you. Once you lose or your your family reunification services are terminated, the focus shifts from you to the child. Now, between the termination of your FR services and the termination of your rights, you can file certain things to try to stop the termination of your rights or slow it down. But everything flips. It focuses on the child from the perspective of the child, not from the perspective of the parents. And a lot of people don't realize that, because it's a very different thing in the law.
I'm guessing
It may not be different to you, but in the law it is. And we talked about something last night. I don't know if you saw the show, but we talked about focusing on the case from the judge's perspective, not from your perspective. Because even though you're the mother, unfortunately, under the law, what you think about the case is generally not relevant. It's what the judge thinks about the case. And so many people take this personally because, it's my kid, blah, blah, blah. I'm the parent, I'm the mother, I'm the father, and it should be blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe it should be, but it's not. And people call me, and I'm only trying to tell you how to win cases. I'm not trying to tell you what the law should be. I'm telling you what the law is in my experience. So I hope that answers your question.
it does. Thank you.
What other questions did you have for me?
So basically we have not ended the reunification yet. I still have visits. Forgot one of my questions.
When they terminate your family reunification services, you can still have visits. So that's not the key indicator. But if you believe that your family reunification services have not been terminated, that's a very good thing. And you and your attorney should be strategizing on how to use that, because the focus still is on you. Okay. Once you lose your reunification services, it's going to change, and it's going to be harder for you to get the child back. Not impossible, just harder from an evidentiary point of view.
How would I know if the reunification has been terminated, or
Well,
how?
hopefully you were at the hearing when it happened, or your attorney has informed you by way of phone call, email, text, something. He or she has communicated that to you. If you want to know for sure, what you need to do is send a text or an email to your attorney and say, hey, were my family reunification services terminated? And if you don't get any response, you can go down to the clerk's office, pull the minute orders, and a recent minute order presumably will tell you whether your family reunification services were terminated or not. In California, once your your reunification services are terminated, that triggers a very important type of appeal that you should probably, always do, in my opinion. And that's to challenge the termination of reunification services. But of course, like everything else in the law, there's a time period. There's a limitation on when you can do that.
I'm guessing the burden of proof falls on me, even though DHS is the one accusing me.
Well, it depends on what stage in the matrix. That's a true statement, depending on the stage. In the beginning stage, that's correct. As you move away from the dispositional hearing, that becomes less and less correct. As a matter of fact, when you're at the termination hearing in California, you have to prove that termination would not be beneficial to the child. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do, especially if you're a parent, you didn't visit, the kid's been out of your home for 12, 18 months. That's a hard thing to do. That's why I tell everyone, hey, get a bonding study. I found out something, I never stopped to realize this, but recently somebody told me that in their case in a county down here in Southern California, that after the termination of their family reunification services, that it was CPS's policy to decrease your visits, even though the judge didn't order that. And if that happens, you have a least likely or less likely chance of proving that the kid will benefit from not terminating your rights in the end. If they cut off your visitation or cut it down, that means you're going to have less and less contact with the child. The child will forget you, will not have that relationship with you. So that's one of the things you should always fight. And as a matter of fact, I was talking to another attorney a few weeks ago about that particular policy being unconstitutional and perhaps bringing some type of lawsuit. Speaking about unconstitutional, I got an email the other day from a county council where, predisposition hearing, and they wanted to meet with my client, the social workers, plural, and get her in a room and bully her, because they've been bullying her on the phone and in text messages and emails. And the county council, who's a very experienced county council, wrote me an email saying, it is our policy that attorneys can't be at CFT meetings. And I politely wrote her back and said, that issue has come up in some of my civil rights cases, and that's unconstitutional. You can't prevent an attorney to represent his client whenever they have interaction with a governmental attorney or a governmental agent. That's your right as a United States citizen. So when I wrote that back, and it was nice, I said, look, we're not looking to sue you, but, let's get with it. Come on. I mean, who do you think you're talking to? So, keep that in mind. I mean, I have a feeling this particular attorney didn't know that it was unconstitutional. And just because it was this particular county's policy to exclude attorneys from all CFT meetings, that it was okay. Hey, we can violate your rights. This is juvenile dependency court. We can do anything that we want.
Just like the room that you got your blood alcohol level test in, right? At the courthouse.
Right.
Same type deal, right? As long as people are going along with it, they're not going to challenge it, and then it's just going to keep getting away with it.
I have to tell you something. When I did that hearing, and I just instinctively knew from my evidence training that was wrong. I didn't know the things Okori told us on the show, a week or two ago. Okay, I didn't know that.
Right.
But I did know that thing that
Room.
Kelly Fry, that couldn't possibly be scientific evidence to take someone's children's child away. But they have been doing it for years, decades, and I think they're still doing it.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think that is because someone called me a few weeks ago with a case in that county and told me what she was made to do. Go
Right.
out in the hallway and go in the first, left to that little office
Right.
and take a test.
But didn't I discuss
not it.
that? But didn't I discuss that with you several times and you disagreed with me? That it's
You
not legit?
absolutely no, not that. Not that. But from the point of Okori, I knew that taking a test inside of a little office didn't meet the Kelly Fry standard. Okay,
Right.
didn't have any testing equipment. The only equipment they had in there was a phone, a telephone, a computer, and a fax machine printer.
Right.
None of those
Now,
have to do with urine.
Right now, how are you going to test somebody's urine?
Right.
I mean, and when I say Kelly Fry, remember I told you guys that Kelly Fry are the cases that define how scientific evidence is admitted into court, into evidence.
Right.
And a drug test is scientific evidence, and it has to meet Kelly Fry. So I
Right.
just knew instinctively that, hey, there's something wrong with that. And the
Right.
judge agreed, and he, made her go take a test at a testing facility, and she tested clean. But Okori told me something or told us something that's totally different. Totally different. And one of the things that he told us was, one of many things he told us was, you have to find out what kind of test you were given, right? Because a drug screen is not a test and it should not be admissible into court under Kelly Fry. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen these, but I see it a lot of times. It says right in the report, oh, they did a drug screen and it was positive. Therefore, we're taking your kid. I now know that is wrong. And I now know that make sure that everyone brings that up. I don't know if I was telling you guys this, but after the show, I actually spoke to someone who is another very well-known CPS defense attorney, and I mentioned that to him. And he said, you know what he told me? He says, I don't believe that. And I had to send him the material. And his reaction was, oh, my God.
Well, I mean, look at how many police departments get away with the roadside urine tests. Like they get in, the cop comes over, he opens up a little container and, inside you urinate in that, there's no control. There's no any of that in the consistency.
Well,
But
and they don't have that in California.
No, they didn't.
So up
No.
here in Maine, for instance, someone that I know, the police had stopped at their home to do a bail check on them, and they happened to be involved with CPS at the time. And the police officer came over and he said, well, let's give you a screen right now. And the guy urinated in the cup right there on the side of the house under the eyes of the police officer. And he takes it and they take it and they go back and they do their little shake and bake and whatever they do. And they come out and they said it's positive. Now,
Right.
CPS,
But that's just a screen.
right.
That
Now,
can't be
CPS,
used against you in any court if, this is the big if,
right. If challenged, right.
if you or your lawyer challenge that.
Right. So
Right.
CPS took that and they used that against them. Now that was the only thing that they ever had on this person was that one thing, which is to come to find out that wasn't even in the state of Maine. That wasn't even admissible in court. That
Right.
was so the cops could say, yep, okay, he has a dirty, and then they'll take him to get a test.
Right.
Or-
But that should have been left up to the attorney and that person to know or to be able to challenge it.
Right.
Right. Which we
Right.
now know. And remind me, Ms. D, next week, Corey called me and left a message, and I got to call him back.
I will.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, DHS has never asked me to take a drug test. He said that if he feels that I need one, he will ask for one. Well, even if it's not court ordered, can I go to any clinic and take a drug test? I can't. It has to
Well,
be ordered.
in California, you can. And as a matter of fact, I've done cases where the DCFS test was positive and the client's test at an independent laboratory was negative.
Yeah.
I've been,
I'm just saying it because you don't really want to go barking up a tree with these people. If they're not asking you about it, then don't give them, anything that they can play with. If they're not saying anything about it, I mean, won't you recommend you don't go adding fuel to the fire?
well, I mean, I'm
I
guessing
recommend
that somewhere along the lines they'll say in their reports that I refused to take one when they never asked me, so I'd rather cover my bases.
Okay, Ellen, the important thing that you just said was, I guess. Let's not guess. Okay. I agree with what Darren just told you.
Okay.
Not an issue. Don't start looking for issues. And to be quite honest, it shows some type of I don't know the
Control.
right
Paranoia?
word.
Paranoia.
You said it, I didn't. It shows some type of paranoia regarding the case.
Mhm.
Okay, you have, from what I remember our conversation a few days ago, you have a strong case.
Mhm.
I don't know all of the allegations, and maybe you don't even know all of the allegations, but based upon what you told me, okay, I think that you should be consulting with your attorney or other attorneys to find out the best strategy to get your child back.
She has a good case. I mean, honestly, I don't understand why they're even keeping the baby.
Well, see, here's the problem, Ms. G, and this is very important. We see and talk to Ellen, we believe everything she says,
Mhm.
but she may not know the intricacies of the case and the allegations against her. How many times have you talked to a client or a PNC and you ask them, well, what are they charging you with? I don't know.
There are things on iowacourts.gov that are blocked. I mean, everything from DHS to the county attorney to the guardian ad litem, I can't see it. The attorney
Oh,
that
you're
I
dealing
just
with a minor. You're dealing with a minor here, so they're
Okay,
not.
this is what you should do. You should ask your attorney via email or text,
don't have one right now.
or that's right, you're in pro per. That bad
I was
strategy.
told that by the attorney that I dismissed months ago that I was told to go to the court, the clerk.
Right. That's just what I was going to tell you. So you take your government issued ID, go to the clerk and ask for a copy of your file.
The clerk told me that I need to ask my attorney. Well, when I decided to go pro se, I said, I've been told that the clerk, that's you, can help me unblock this. Well, she said, nope, you can go online to, I think it was EDMS or something, and unblock it myself. But I don't know if I misinterpreted what it said, but it said something about I am not able to if I'm pro se. That's not exactly what it said, but it did say something about not if I'm pro se. I don't know if that means I can unblock it or I can't.
What you could do, and of course, this is much more complicated and costs much more money, but you can file a federal complaint directing the clerk to issue your records to you, because that's unconstitutional for you to be in a case and not have access to the records.
Well, see, the guardian ad litem told me that right after she told me I needed to go in and unblock it myself, she told me that she and the county attorney needed to speak to the judge and they needed to get a court order. That makes me very concerning. It makes me think they're hiding things about me.
They are hiding things because when they make the report, they will make up stories about you. That's not true, but it's believable to a judge. It's believable because
Would it be possible to get a subpoena for those records, or is that? Because I walked in.
That's your right. You're supposed to be able to just ask them, tell the whoever, right? And you're supposed to request your discovery, and they're supposed to give it to you.
It's a state court you're dealing with, though. It's more complex than that. So Attorney Davis is the only one that can answer that question. Can she subpoena her records?
In California, she would be able to.
In Iowa, what code would that be under?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that. I'm not an Iowa attorney.
Oh.
But I mean, you subpoenaing them is probably not the best way. Why don't you talk to an attorney and ask them, you can go to a law library, you can get a form template with your attorney to file a case in federal court directing the clerk of the court to give you your file or a copy of your file. I mean, how are you going to defend yourself even if you were represented without a copy of the file in the minute order? That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
By the way, I want to go back to a further prior conversation we were having about drug testing. Brighter Bridges says, and a test at a doctor's office is more valuable. Brighter Bridges, I now know that's an incorrect statement because doctors' offices aren't, quote unquote, drug testing facilities. Okay, I would assume that they don't even have the right equipment to test drugs. What they do at the doctor's office, and I believe at the hospitals, is they do a drug screen. Okay, and sometimes they don't even send that out for drug testing. Screen and testing are completely different. Okay.
Question.
Anyway, I wanted to bring that back up. Getting back to your questions, Miss Ellen, did you have any other questions?
Since they're questioning my abilities to parent and they just want to make sure she's safe with me, would it be a good idea to take a custody? Forget what it was called, but my therapist said she wasn't the kind of therapist that could determine whether my anger or my disability interferes with raising my child. I think she told me to go to a custody therapist. I don't know.
I don't.
A psychotherapist. I was told it's a psychotherapist.
No, a psychologist.
No, but there's one for like if they think that the person is psycho, they call them psychotherapist. That's what I was told, and I'm like, I'm gonna ask Mr. Davis on that one.
Yeah, no, it's just a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Same
You
thing.
can.
There's different evaluation. I was told that was on my show last week. Somebody wrote that she was told or he was told that they need a psycho.
Was somebody that wrote that a lawyer?
I have no idea. That's why I said.
Read on shows.
That's why I said I will ask Davis on the show. So I didn't.
Ellen, what you can do is present prophylactically go get a psychological evaluation. All right.
I'm currently waiting on the psychosocial evaluation. We talked about that the other day that I paid for it myself.
Right. And you might want to keep those results and report confidential unless you know that unless when you see it, it's it's positive.
But right? She can subpoena that person too, right? The
subpoena what person?
The one that did the evaluation.
I thought she was waiting on the evaluation.
I don't need to subpoena them. I already paid for the evaluation.
No, for them to be in court with you. If it's positive for you, what I'm saying.
I can do that. Another question I had was, they are not telling me anything about her doctor's appointments. I went to 3 dermatologist appointments, and after that, they told me that I make foster mom uncomfortable, so I have to be supervised. I was told by the attorney that I had that who cares if you make foster mom uncomfortable? You're the one that should be uncomfortable. That's true. These are 2 strangers that are raising or trying to take care of my daughter. They don't tell me anything about her. They actually treat me like dirt. They treat me like a disease at her first appointment. Yeah. I asked, can you turn her so I can see her, please? She said, we're not taking her out of the car seat right now. I said, I didn't ask if you could take her out. I said, can you turn her so I can see my daughter, please? She had a very disgusting look on her face, like she didn't want me to see my own child. The foster father, I can tell, has a heart. Every time he's at a hearing or I see him, he has tears in his eyes. I was actually told by someone at one of the churches I go to that DHS they are not helping any parent reunite with their kid. They're just not. They're doing it on purpose. He said the reason they treat me like that is because they want to upset me, so I lash out and I lose my rights. He said there is absolutely no intention
That's right.
of reunification. That's why the DHS worker is taking forever to get me more visits.
Yep.
And I believe it.
And I say that all the time, Ellen. I say that all the time. That they do that intentionally to push you to the max, to lose yourself. And in fact, those foster parents, they
want to adopt her.
I know they want to adopt her, but they're hearing stories from the social worker about you. They're making you look like you're a psychopath and that you're not fit to be a mom and all that. And that woman, shame on her, because what she's doing to you, it will happen to her. Karma is a bad thing.
I say that all the time. Karma's a and I'm serving it.
Every day this week, and believe me when I tell you, she's gonna get her day, because see, they're judging you based on demonic allegation against you. The demon would lie about you to get to where he wants you to be. So therefore, guess what? She will get her day, and you're gonna sit there and watch. But I'm praying to God that you will get your baby before then, and then sit there and watch. And that's the main focus right now, is get your baby, because they're prolonging this whole process. So the judge can say with his stupid self is that, oh, well, I'm kind of reluctant to make the move now because now the baby's calling her mom. You know, the baby is now comfortable with the foster mom.
She's not even talking yet, so I'm thankful for that.
I'm talking about they prolonged the case. I'm telling you, some cases is 2 years, and even David's like, "Why did it take that long?" Like, they know what they're doing.
Question.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're going to prolong it as much as they can, because after 12 months, am I right, Davis? Or
Yeah, after 12 months, generally they want to move to a permanent plan, terminate your family reunification services.
yep.
But I'm going to tell you something, Ellen, and that I disagree with Ms. G on. These people that you're dealing with, they're not stupid. Don't ever think that. They know exactly what they're doing.
But what do you disagree with me on, though? I just said that.
No, you said judges were stupid.
I said all of them are stupid.
Yeah, they're not.
In our perspective, yes, they're stupid. And
You know what
Ellen, that's just what I told you earlier. And if you saw the show last night, you just said from our perspective. You're looking at the case all wrong.
Well, no, what I mean is, like, to me, they're wrong and they're unprofessional, but to them, they're professional. They know what they're doing. It's their way or the highway. Like I was trying to say, like, you know, they know what they're doing. To them, they're not stupid.
Right. They clearly don't know what they clearly know what they're doing. And if you ever think differently, you're losing. Period. Look at the case
like a judge, and they need to think like a worker.
Yeah. Look at the case from their perspective. That's the only way that you can win. People are so focused on being right and clearing their names.
So when I hear people say that they lost their rights because they were too obsessed with their pride, that's why they lose their rights. They're obsessed with clearing their name.
That's one of the reasons. I mean, I see all different, I see thousands of different reasons. It's different with every person. It's different with every person. I'm doing a case right now where the client is beginning to go from it's all about me and being right and clearing my name to, oh, I guess I better look at this case differently. Because the way you look at the case is the way you present evidence, right? Do you want to present evidence to win, or do you want to present evidence to prove you are right?
I don't think the judge would like it if I proved him wrong. He's in charge. He's the one that's got.
We're not talking about proving the judge wrong. We're talking about convincing the judge
I'm just
convincing
making
that,
sure I understand everything.
right. It's a difficult concept because it's a different way of thinking,
I need
you
to
know,
think like him.
and it's not, look, it's not hard to do what I'm saying. It's just foreign to you. It's just different. You haven't thought about it like this. And it's not hard to do. It's just that it's different. And it's something, in life, how things are, you come across something you're not used to. You most people kind of, you know, struggle against it or
Question.
don't want to accept it.
Question. So, you
Hmm.
know how I said I live off Social Security disability, right?
Hmm.
It sounds like one thing that would prevent me from getting her back, in other words, what's best for the child, is that the foster family has affordable income, probably more than affordable. Do you think that would be good for me to get a job that's not door dashing or gig work to show them I have money coming in so I can support her?
That's a very good question, actually.
They want you to
Um,
get child
b-
support from
but they
They haven't
sup-
found the father yet. If they
sup-
did, they didn't tell me.
supposedly, supposedly, income is not an issue. You're not supposed to be discriminated against because of that.
Hmm.
But in a lot of case plans I've seen from all over the country, it says one of the goals is you have to get a job and you have to have full, housing for the kid to live. But yet they don't give you reunification services for that. And I'm not sure, what getting a job is. I mean, God made welfare for a reason, you know?
God
So
made welfare.
I don't know. And I'd say you'd have to play that by ear from based upon comments of the judge or comments of the social worker.
The goal is to control my anger and not lash out. But then again, the CFI worker over exaggerates on her reports. She's calling me hostile. She's making it look like I stalked the father. She's making me look like a monster. None of that is true. Looking at his profile on Facebook 2 times is not stalking. When I'm trying to tell her what's wrong with the report, she interrupts me on purpose. And then she has the nerve to call me hostile and argumentative. So I figured if I get frustrated, I'll just
But,
get up
but
and
Ellen, you're violating, rule number 3. Davis rule number 3. What is that? Don't
keep
talk to
my mouth
social
shut.
workers.
Keep my
Right.
mouth shut during visits.
Why are you engaging with the social worker? You know why? Because
I
you
don't
can't
have
help.
any
You can't.
friends.
You can't help yourself. You need to show the social worker who's right. And when you do that, she's laughing inside because you're making comments that she's going to twist and use against you. Okay. So if you want to keep talking to the social worker, go right ahead, and you're
I
going to
just
lose.
miss talking to people. I
Have a friend. Have a friend that you can vent out to. You don't need to talk to these people. You can talk to your friend if you want to vent out.
If you want to vent, call Miss G. That wasn't a joke.
That's what people do, honest to God. I'm not joking.
People
He's not
they
How
call
busy
her
are you to get
they
a phone
call her
call just
they
whenever?
call her look, people call her 24/7.
They do.
Okay?
You're not on screen or on camera
No,
24/7.
no. Seemed like it, huh? But she's not.
I saw how many videos were back to back before and after mine. I'm like, they're busy.
And the other thing is, in our Facebook pages, get to know people, get to meet people, talk to them.
Do
They're
you,
in the same position you're in.
do you think that the suicidal hotline is a good place to call, or will they? I was just gonna say,
Well, it's a good
even though
place to call.
I'm not suicidal. I just need someone to talk to and vent.
Just talk to me, Ellen. Just freaking talk
Look,
to me. My phone
Ellen,
number is my cell phone
Ellen,
number.
Ellen, if you call the suicide hotline, number one, you shouldn't be calling that unless you have suicidal ideation.
Exactly.
Okay.
The
Now,
website
if you
also said you could talk to them if you're depressed or have anxiety.
Okay.
That's the
Well,
plan.
I mean,
They lied.
if that's true, you can. But if the social worker finds out you called the suicide hotline, guess where that's going to go? Right into the report to the judge. And guess what
Goodbye.
the judge is going to think?
He thinks
You
I'm a
know,
threat to myself and her.
we had a guest on last night that said one of the most profound things I've ever heard, and it's true.
It's true.
She said, "Oh, I asked her. I said, the judge only read the social worker report." She said, "Yeah," and she said, "If I were the judge and I read that report, I would have ruled against me too."
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell you? That tells you you better have some evidence to contradict that report, because these most of the time these are works of art. These reports that they write, works of art. They drop that one line that's going to slam you, right?
If I don't have any text message or emails, then what counts as reports? Because if I say that, no, this is wrong, this is what happened, I don't have text message and it was just, talking, then the voice recording would be the only thing I have.
Okay, I don't understand. I'm not following you. What do you mean?
I mean, like, if the social worker lies in her report and says something that's not true, like say that when she said I stalked the father, if I had recorded that conversation, and I actually told her that I only looked at his profile twice within like a month.
But why did you even tell? Wait. Let's go back to the beginning. Why did you even tell her that?
I don't know.
You're
Yeah,
so
me
smart.
either.
You're so smart, and then you do these like,
Yeah.
I don't either. See, that's why I tell people don't talk to social workers without their lawyer, because they end up saying stuff that they shouldn't say. You
She's
give them
also
an
accusing me of.
you give them an inch, they will take a mile. You understand?
This is their job. Their new cars depend on
And
this.
look, and I don't care what people say. I don't care what people say. Social workers are good at their job. They know exactly what they're trying to do, and they do it. Now, are you going to be good at your job? Your job is beating them.
But you know what, Ellen? I know you're pro per, but it's not a good idea. We have an attorney in our office. We had an attorney in our office. Her name was Jen, and she told me in her case, in her divorce and custody matter, she said she had to hire an attorney because she was too emotional handling her own case. And she's an attorney. She's an awesome attorney. So what I'm trying to tell you is this: it's going to be very difficult for you to do it without you are emotional as a mother. As a mother, you're emotional, period, because you just had a baby, your hormones are out of whack, and you miss your baby. You're connected. If you take a kitten from a brand new kitten from mom, right, from her mom, the mom dies. Did you know that? They have to keep the kittens with the mother for a period of time because they will die without the mom. So just imagine we're humans. We're connected to our child, to our baby for life. So of course you're going to be emotional. Of course you're going to be all over the place with your thoughts. You're not an attorney. For the love of God, I can honestly tell you it is a lot of work to be an attorney, and you might lose hair just believe me when I tell you this.
Being,
It's a lot of
You look
work.
good. You look real good, Mr.
I
Davis.
mean, and it's sad. You'll get gray before you know it. Just trying to handle your own case. So don't lose your health for it. Don't lose your mind for it. Get an attorney that understands the law. Even coaching, an attorney that can coach you and consult you. He can be your own attorney in your own pocket.
I have a
If you
meeting.
Yeah, if you call me, I'll tell you how to do that. But I mean, my cell number, everyone has. Almost half of California has my cell number now. But it's the 31. I don't know if you have it, but it's 310-462. You do? Okay. Then text me. Hey, Miss G, I'm Alan. I was on the show. Can you call me? And that way I know who you are, because I get a lot of text messages from people I don't know who they are until they give me their names. Okay. But I can guide you on what you need to do. I can help you, because you cannot do this on your own. I'm telling you right now, you cannot. You know what my doctor, but let me say this to everyone right now. My doctor, his name is Dr. Marks. I went to the office about half a year, like 6 months ago, and he said to me, he said, "Oh, I couldn't sleep all night. I took my daughter to a doctor. She was not feeling good." And I said, "But you're a doctor." He said, "Well, just because I'm a doctor doesn't mean I can diagnose my own daughter because she's my daughter. I'm emotional. I'm worried about her. I can't diagnose her correctly. And if I do try to diagnose her, it's going to be so overwhelming to me that I'm going to lose my mind." So even doctors take their children to other doctors to diagnose them. Does that, when he said that to me, it made sense. It made perfect sense. So I'm letting you know that you have a support system. I am available. Last call I got last night was at 1:45 a.m. and I was on the phone with her until 2:30. So I don't barely sleep. I don't know how I function. I don't get it. Maybe a coffee, God's grace, God's, love. All I'm saying to you is that you have a support system. And I am here and I will let you know what you need to do, honestly, because even people that Davis coached and consulted, right, on cases, they literally had him in their pocket. They would call him and text him like 24/7. And Davis would respond to them. Okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. So that should be a good, perfect step for you. And also, even if you get an attorney from your state, we can discuss how he or she can work with Davis. There's strategies, right? He might not know the whole laws of your state, but he's not a dummy because his strategy works in all states. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead.
I was going to say we're getting towards the end of the show, and I wanted to know if Mr. Guai had anything he wanted to ask or say.
I do. I'm actually sending you an email I wanted you to look at before you did this. So, after your TPR, for instance, I'm going to just ask you this because I'm bent over while I'm sending you this email. After your TPR, there's been no adoption. There's no that. Now, I know in the state of Maine, if there's no adoption after a year, that you're able to go. There's avenues that you can take to look into. Actually, you don't get your rights reinstated. They give you like a new set of rights, if you will, like if you were an adoptive parent. However, that all being said, is there anything in between there? Like, are you privy to a judicial review after another 6 months from your TPR? Is that something that you can apply for? Is there any such thing like that? Because I know like there are still open avenues with appeals and motion 60s and all of that, but is like a judicial review or any type thing like that available?
In California, no, but I would suspect that it differs from state to state.
Right.
I think it was the law that was passed last Friday, 2 days after my court hearing. I sent you the copy of it, Miss Grace. They passed a new law, and I can't understand it to save my soul. It talks about a vacation. I'm guessing they mean like after a parent's rights are terminated, you have so long to appeal that. I don't know. You'd have to look at it. But yeah, I think that was the law that was passed Friday. Before we quit here, I have a couple more questions. So the custody therapist is not a good idea, correct? And then what was it? You said something about what was it? Something about bonding.
Bonding study.
Is that something I can do without DHS knowing?
Because they have to talk to you and the kid to determine if there's an emotional or psychological or physical bond that would.
Can you use a bond?
That brings me to my next question. I was at the grocery store a couple weeks ago, and this couple that I've never seen before looked at me, and I said, "Oh, excuse me," and I immediately hear a baby crying, and they had a baby with them. They looked at me like they knew me. And I know that the foster family lives with 3 other people. I know I'm pretty sure that was my daughter because the way they stared at me and followed me with their eyes and their body, they knew me, but I didn't know them. She heard my voice and she started crying. During our visits, they are forcing me to put her down for a nap with what little time I get with her. She does not want to leave me. I tried to put her down for almost 30 minutes, and each time I walked away, she started crying and lifting up her arms. As soon as I picked her up, she immediately went to sleep. I consider that bonding. The only question is, how is she acting in the foster home, which nobody tells me?
Yeah.
And how can I find that out?
Ellen, the important thing that you just said that I don't want you to do is you said, I consider that bonding. Okay. Now, remember, we're not going to look at these cases from your point of view. Bonding, whether there's bonding, is a issue for an expert, a psychologist, to determine if there's a bond. You could consider anything you want.
How do I prove that we're bonding in court, though?
You need to have a bonding study.
But that has to be ordered by DHS.
No, it has to be ordered by the judge. You make a motion for a bonding study.
Can I do that pro se, or does my attorney have to do it?
Well, you can't have an attorney and be pro se.
Well, no,
It's
but
one- it's one
right
or the
now
other.
I'm pro se.
Okay. Well, you have to make a motion for a bonding study.
Okay.
But I told you this last time. This thing about you representing yourself is a bad strategy.
I have an interview next week with an attorney.
Perfect. Okay.
Make sure that he or she is a juvenile, please. That handle juvenile cases, not one case per 10 years. Okay.
All right. So I see a message from Mr. Guay that he sent me an email. Let me check my email before we end.
You're going to like this. This is my gift to you.
What's your email address?
That's my name, Darren Guay at Gmail.
Okay, I don't have an email in the last 10 minutes, 19 minutes from Darren Guay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on a minute. Yes, you do not. You do now, though. Ooh.
No, nothing.
Oh, I mean, it's coming from Maine to there, so it might take one more. I did the Vincent W. Davis, right? That's one.
v.davis at vincentwdavis.com.
When you told me to file complaints, you said file a complaint with the CPS headquarters in Washington, D.C. Is that? If they're all corrupted and these people fund.
No, that's not what I told you. Ellen, you have to listen carefully to what I tell you. Okay. And because that show will live on the internet forever, go back and watch it. Okay. What I told you was to file a complaint with the Department of Health and Human Services in DC. Okay. I said that they control the funding for all CPS in the country.
Okay.
Okay. Now, that's different from what you just said.
Okay.
All right. And, close counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, not in CPS law. You haven't heard that one in a long time, have you, Mr. Quay?
No, that's been a minute since I've heard that one. I love that. That's a good one.
Okay, Ellen. Mr. Guay, I do not have an email from you.
I just sent it to Grace so that she could forward it.
I have it.
All right.
Okay.
I want you to look at the MP4 one because that MP4 one's great.
Okay, it says...
Yes, just say yes. You're fine with it. I didn't do anything to you.
I like them. I like them.
Do
I
you see
didn't know.
Do you see the MP4 one though? One with a little moving.
No, I don't see that one.
I'll make sure it gets to you because that's the best one.
I see 4 pictures.
Right. One of those is a moving one. The green one, the one that looks different. One of those things that don't belong.
I don't have a green one.
Oh, all right. I'll rework it, Mister.
Okay.
I'll get it
Send
to
it
you.
to me. I'll look at it later today.
All right,
Okay,
Mister.
folks, we are at the end of the show. We're over time as usual. I want to thank Miss Ellen for being on our show again. And keep in touch, and please keep in touch with Miss G. She talks, she listens to people. She's been through what you're going through. All right. So take advantage of that. And Mr. Guai, thank you again for being a co-host. Ms. G, thank you again. For everyone watching, we're going to be on tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll see everyone then. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Nick knew. All right.